Today, let's walk through how to use the URL match and URL replace options in sideload settings. This is a great option to use when multiple libraries have the same collection from a vendor and the only thing that's different is the access URLs contained within those records. A common example of this is Canopy. So while we're going to continue to use Canopy as the example for this video, this could technically work for other similar collections. So if you're managing a large consortium and several or maybe even all of your libraries have Canopy, we only need one Canopy record file from one library. Then we can use URL matching and replacement to swap out the Canopy URLs on those records for all the other libraries. To better understand this concept, let's walk through the setup. So first, you'll want to create your sideload setting and upload your MARC files. So I'm going to edit this sideload setting, and that is under the sideloads modules, and go to settings. So after you've created your initial setting and uploaded your files, let's just take a look at the files here. Usually Canopy files, when you download them, they'll have the library's name in there. So this is the Canopy file for the main library. When we use the URL match and replace, we want to make sure that the files uploaded to the sideload setting continue to come from the same library. So whenever you get a new sideload file with new records, just make sure it's from that same library. It's not the end of the world if you have to use a different library's records later on, but you'll have to update all the scope settings because the URL to match will be different. So we'll take a look at that when we get into the scopes. So I'm going to head to the sideloads section and click on scopes. And when you create a new sideload setting in Aspen, Aspen will create a corresponding scope for that setting automatically. Since the sideload has Canopy records for the main library, I'm going to edit this scope. And instead of all records, I'm just going to call this main library. Since this scope is for the main library, and the files in the sideload are for the main library, I don't need to enter anything in the URL to match or the URL replacement fields. So for this first one, I can just leave that alone. Then I'm going to want to select the library and locations, and then I'll go ahead and save my changes. Now, because I have other libraries that want to use these Canopy records, I'm going to need to create a new scope setting. So down at the bottom, I'm going to click Add New. Up here at the top, there's a drop-down that shows all the sideload settings. So I'm going to select the one Canopy setting that has our files in it. I'm setting up this second scope for Springfield Public Library. So I'm going to type in Springfield. You can type in whatever you want, just as long as it makes it easy for you to identify who this sideload scope is for at a glance. Now, since this scope setting is for Springfield, this is when I want to fill in the match and replace fields. In the URL to match field, enter in the part of the record URL that is the same for all records in the sideload. In this case, the part that's always the same is the library's Canopy URL. So enter that URL in, followed by an open parentheses, .* close parentheses. So this is essentially saying, look for exactly this URL, and then fill in all the stuff that comes after it. Next, in the URL replacement field, enter in the part of the URL that's specific for this library. So in this case, that is the Springfield Library's Canopy URL. And at the end of this URL, enter a $sign and 1. So this is saying all the text that we matched up in here, we're going to replace it with this. Then, once again, we need to select our library. So since this is for Springfield, I'll go ahead and select that. And then I could select the location as well and save changes. Now, when I look down, scroll down in my sideload scopes, I can see 2 scopes for canopy. So one is for the original library whose files we're using, the main library. And again, we don't need to use the URL replacement, so since we're already using main library's files. Then we have a second scope using the same canopy collection, and this is for Springfield. So we can see the URL we're matching in the original files in this column, and then the URL replacement to swap for each library's actual URL. Now, when these records have fully re-indexed and I go to Springfield's catalog and click to access a canopy record, it's going to take me to the correct URL for that library, all using the same set of files. To add additional library scopes, I'd repeat the same process that I just did for Springfield with each additional library. Again, you would give it its own name, you would select the same sideload, in this case it's canopy. You would use the same value in URL to match, since that's the value found in the original files. And the only thing that would be different is the URL replacement. To make sure that records are properly updated after you're finished adding all the scopes, I like to go to the sideload settings, edit the setting, click Run Full Update at the bottom here and save. This will make sure that the collection is fully re-indexed to include all the new scopes that you've set up. So depending on the timing of when it runs and how long it takes you to add the scopes, it could take a couple of full indexing cycles for it to completely catch everything. For more information about sideloads or anything else on Aspen Discovery, be sure to check out the Aspen Help Center. Thank you for watching.